The rain-slicked schoolyard in the fading light of a grey afternoon echoed with the cruel laughter of children, a sound sharper than shattered glass. 8-year-old Lily huddled against the chain-link fence, her small frame trembling as the circle of classmates tightened around her. Mud splattered her worn sneakers, the kind bought from a thrift store bin, and her dark curls clung to her tear-streaked face. "Freak!" one boy sneered, shoving her backpack into a puddle. "Nobody wants you here. Go back to whatever hole you crawled out of." The others joined in, their taunts a relentless storm, kicking at her legs until she slipped and fell, scraping her palms on the gravel. No teacher lingered nearby. The bell had rung, and the world had turned its back. Lily bit her lip to stifle a sob, tasting salt and dirt. She wasn't always like this, small, invisible, a whisper in a shouting crowd. 2 years ago, she'd been reborn into a life she could barely understand, pulled from the shadows of neglect by hands calloused from engines and roads. But here, in this ordinary suburban school on the edge of a dusty town, her past felt like a chain around her neck. The bullies didn't know. No one did. She clutched her drawing notebook to her chest, the one filled with sketches of roaring motorcycles and strong silhouettes under endless skies, her secret anchors. From the far end of the lot, the low rumble began, a vibration that hummed through the ground like distant thunder. Heads turned, the laughter faltering as headlights pierced the drizzle. A single motorcycle rolled into view, its chrome gleaming wet under the overcast sky, the rider's leather jacket scarred from miles of forgotten highways. He was broad-shouldered, with a salt-and-pepper beard framing a face etched by sun and sorrow, eyes hidden behind tinted shades. The bike idled with a growl that silenced the yard, and the man dismounted slowly, his boots crunching on the wet asphalt. The children scattered like startled birds, but Lily froze, her heart leaping. She knew that sound, that silhouette. It was Jack's, the eldest of her 6 brothers, the one who'd found her crying in a run-down diner all those months ago and whispered, "You're family now, kid. We ride for our own." Jack's gaze swept the scene, taking in the muddied ground, the abandoned backpack, the fear in Lily's eyes. He didn't shout or charge, he simply knelt to her level, his voice a gravelly calm that cut through the rain. "Rough day, Squirt." Lily nodded, wiping her nose on her sleeve, and in that moment something shifted. The intervention wasn't just for today, it was the spark of a promise reignited, one that would pull the Iron Oath crew from their scattered lives across state lines. 6 brothers, bound by blood and bikes, veterans of wars both foreign and personal, who had sworn long ago to protect what was theirs. Lily was theirs now, reborn from ashes they all carried in their souls. As Jax helped her to her feet, slinging her backpack over his shoulder, the scent of leather and motor oil mingled with the earthy petrichor. He ruffled her hair gently. "Tell me what happened." Her words tumbled out in fragments, names, jeers, the isolation that gnawed at her like hunger. Jax listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening beneath the beard. This wasn't the first time the world had tried to break one of their own. He remembered his own scars, the shrapnel from a desert ambush that ended his military days, leaving him with nightmares and a club patch that meant more than any medal. The Iron Oath wasn't just a motorcycle club. It was a vow etched in chrome and loyalty, forged in the fires of loss. Their father, a grizzled rider lost to a crooked cop's bullet years back, had taught them, "Promises don't rust, you keep 'em, or you're nothing." Back at the clubhouse that evening, a weathered garage on the outskirts of town where the air hung heavy with the tang of gasoline and welding sparks, Jax gathered the brothers. The space was alive with the clink of tools and the hum of fluorescent lights, walls lined with faded photos of rides and reunions. Ryder, the youngest at 28, leaned against his customized Harley, wiping grease from his hands, his tattooed arms a map of rebellion. "What's the play, big bro?" he asked, sensing the storm in Jax's eyes. "It's Lily," Jax said, voice steady but laced with the weight of old oaths. "School's turning on her, kids ganging up, teachers looking the other way. We brought her in, made her one of us. Time to remind 'em what family means." The others nodded. Finn, the quiet medic with hands that had stitched more wounds than he could count. Blaze, the hot-tempered gearhead whose temper matched his flame-inked chest. Cole, the strategist with a mind sharp as a switchblade. And Thorn, the enforcer whose silence spoke of battles won without fists. They were scattered by life, jobs in mechanics, security, the open road, but the call united them like gravity. Ryder cracked his knuckles. "We ride in tomorrow. Show 'em the oath ain't just patches." But Jax held up a hand. "Not like that. No threats, no rumble. We do it right. Talk to the principal, stand with her, show these kids what real strength looks like." The room fell quiet. The only sound, the distant patter of rain on the tin roof. It was a promise reborn, not from violence, but from the quiet honor that had kept them whole through betrayals and empty miles. Lily, asleep in the back room on a cot, piled with blankets that smelled of pine and freedom, dreamed of wheels turning, carrying her away from the mud. By dawn, the first light gilded the bikes lined up outside, engines purring like awakened beasts. Jax watched Lily from the doorway, her small chest rising and falling, and felt the pull of redemption. He'd failed his blood family once, letting pride blind him to the dangers that claimed their father. Not again. This ride wasn't for glory. It was for the girl who'd mended something broken in all of them, a light in their shadowed world. As the brothers mounted up, the convoy's rumble echoed into the mist, a symphony of loyalty that would shake the foundations of that ordinary school and the secrets it hid. What if subscribe button? Wait, no. The story paused here, the air thick with unspoken vows. But Lily's rebirth was just beginning, her brother's shadows lengthening against the rising sun. The morning sun clawed its way through the thinning mist, casting long shadows across the school's cracked parking lot. Lily clung to Jax's side as the convoy rolled in, a thunderous procession of 6 gleaming motorcycles that turned heads and silenced whispers. The engine's deep growl faded to a hush as the brothers killed their bikes, the air thick with the scent of hot metal and dew-kissed asphalt. Parents paused mid-conversation, coffee cups forgotten in their hands. Teachers peered from classroom windows, brows furrowed in confusion. This wasn't the usual drop-off routine, no minivans or hurried waves. This was something primal, a ripple of presence that demanded attention without a single raised voice. Lily's heart pounded like a drum in her chest, her small hand slick with nerves in Jax's calloused grip. She glanced up at him, his shades reflecting the dawn light, and saw the quiet resolve that had pulled her from the brink 2 years ago. Back then, in that dim diner booth reeking of stale fries and regret, Jax had slid a plate of pancakes her way and said, "Eat up, kid. World's tough, but you ain't facing it alone." It was the first promise she'd believed in since the shadows of her old life, neglect's quiet erosion, a home that felt more like a cage. Now, as the brothers dismounted in unison, their leather vests patched with the Iron Oath emblem, a coiled serpent around her unbreakable chain, they formed a loose circle around her, a wall of unspoken protection. Ryder, ever the spark, flashed Lily a wink, his youthful grin cutting through the tension. "Ready to show 'em what family's made of, Lil?" She nodded, swallowing hard, her backpack heavier than it should be with the weight of secrets. The bullies from yesterday lingered near the entrance, their smirks fading as the group approached. The ringleader, a stocky boy named Tyler with a perpetual scowl, nudged his friends, but his bravado cracked when Thorn's massive frame loomed nearby, the enforcer's silence more intimidating than any shout. Jax led the way into the principal's office, the door creaking open to reveal a cluttered space lined with motivational posters and faded diplomas. Principal Harlan, a wiry man in a rumpled suit, looked up from his desk, his eyes widening behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Can I help you?" he asked, voice edged with wariness. Jax removed his shades, revealing eyes like weathered steel. "Name's Jax Harlan. No relation, I hope. This is Lily, our sister. She's been having a rough go here. We aim to set things right." The principal leaned back, fingers steepled, the clock on the wall ticking like a countdown. Lily stood a little straighter, the warmth of Finn's hand on her shoulder grounding her. Finn, the medic who'd patched her up from a playground fall last summer with stories of battlefield stitches and second chances, murmured, "Breathe, kid. We've got you." Harlan listened as Jax recounted the incidents, not with anger, but with the measured tone of a man who'd seen too many injustices slide by unchecked. Mud in the backpack, taunts that echoed neglect's old wounds, teachers who turned blind eyes. She's family, Jax emphasized, the word hanging heavy, and family doesn't let its own get trampled. Outside, the brothers waited, a vigilant line against the building's brick facade. Blaze paced slowly, his flame tattoo peeking from his collar, fists clenched not in rage, but restraint. He'd lost a brother to a bar fight gone wrong years back, a betrayal that taught him violence's hollow echo. "This ain't about payback," he muttered to Cole, who nodded, his strategist's mind already mapping the moral terrain. Cole, with his scarred knuckles from desk jobs turned undercover watches, knew corruption's face, cops who'd looked the other way when their father fell. "We stand firm. Show 'em honor's not a relic. That's the oath." Words spread like wildfire through the halls. Classmates peeked from doorways, the air buzzing with curiosity and an undercurrent of fear. Tyler and his crew hovered at a distance, their earlier cruelty now a fragile shield. Lily caught their eyes, not with triumph, but a quiet defiance born of her brother's faith. She'd been reborn in their world, of midnight rides under starlit highways, campfires crackling with tales of redemption, the rumble of engines drowning out doubt. But school was her battlefield now, a place where innocence clashed with cruelty's casual blade. Harlan cleared his throat, the room's fluorescent hum underscoring his discomfort. "We take these matters seriously, Mr. Harlan. But a group like yours, it might send the wrong message." Jax's gaze didn't waver. "The message is simple. Protect your own. Lily's not just a student. She's got 6 brothers who ride for her. We've buried promises before, lost ones that haunt us. This one's getting kept." The principal shifted, glancing at Lily's wide eyes. The faint bruises of yesterday's fall, hidden under long sleeves, but not forgotten. He sighed, the weight of institutional blindness pressing down. "I'll call an assembly. Address this head-on. No more looking away." As they emerged into the sunlight, the schoolyard transformed. The brothers flanked Lily toward her classroom, their presence a gentle thunder. Ryder scooped up a stray crayon she'd dropped, handing it back with a flourish. "Draw us winning this one, Squirt." Laughter bubbled from her, light and unexpected, cutting the morning's edge. But beneath the calm, tension simmered. Whispers from faculty hinted at deeper issues, a system strained by cuts, where bullies thrived in the cracks. Jax exchanged a look with Thorne. This intervention was just the opening salvo. Their father's old vow echoed in his mind. Justice ain't loud, it's the stand you take when no one's watching. By midday, the assembly hall filled with restless students, the air thick with the scent of polished wood and anticipation. Principal Harlan took the stage, his voice amplified but unsteady. "Today we talk about respect, about seeing each other, really seeing." Lily sat in the front row, her brothers lining the back like sentinels, their leather creaking softly. Tyler fidgeted in the crowd, his friends subdued. Harlan's words wove through the moral fabric, empathy over exclusion, strength in kindness. It wasn't a lecture, it was a reckoning, sparked by the oath's quiet arrival. As the bell rang, releasing the tension like a held breath, Jax knelt once more before Lily. "Proud of you, kid. This is your road now." She hugged him fiercely, the scent of leather wrapping around her like armor. But as the brothers mounted their bikes for the ride home, engines roaring to life, a shadow lingered. A note slipped into Lily's locker later that day, anonymous, laced with resentment, hinted at forces beyond childish taunts. The school hid secrets, perhaps tied to the town's underbelly, where old corruptions festered. The iron oath had ignited a promise, but fulfilling it would demand more than presence. It would test their bonds, pulling them into a web of ethical shadows where loyalty's fire burned brightest. The convoy thundered away, a dust swirling in their wake, leaving the school forever altered. Lily watched from the steps, her rebirth no longer solitary. Yet the road ahead twisted, promising trials that would forge their chosen family anew, or break it under the weight of unspoken truths. And now I invite you to leave in the comments where you're watching from and the exact hour you heard this story. We wish to know how far these northern confessions travel and at what moments they reach you. The afternoon sun hung low over the suburban sprawl, painting the school's brick walls in hues of amber and shadow, as if the building itself were bracing for dusk's revelations. Lily pushed open her locker door with a metallic squeak that echoed down the empty hallway, the air still humming from the assembly's echoes. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for her jacket, but they brushed against something unexpected. A folded scrap of paper, its edges crisp and deliberate. She unfolded it slowly, the faint scent of cheap ink rising like a warning, scrawled in blocky letters, "Stay away, freak, or your biker friends get it next." Her breath caught, a chill snaking down her spine, despite the warmth filtering through the windows. This wasn't just a child's prank. The words carried a weight, a veiled threat that tugged at the fragile threads of her reborn world. She crumpled the note in her fist, heart racing like an engine revving in neutral, and scanned the corridor. Empty, save for the distant murmur of janitors' carts and the faint drip of a leaky faucet. Lily shoved the paper into her pocket, the weight of it burning like a hidden ember. She hadn't told Jax about the assembly's undercurrents, the way Tyler's eyes had darted away during Harlan's speech, or the cluster of teachers whispering in the corner, their faces tight with something unspoken. But this note changed everything. It whispered of shadows beyond the playground, ties to the town's frayed underbelly where favors traded hands like worn playing cards. Lily's old life had taught her silence, but her brothers had taught her voice. She needed them now, more than ever. Outside, the parking lot baked under the sun, the asphalt shimmering like a mirage. Jax waited by his bike, arms crossed over his leather vest, the iron oath patch catching the light, a serpent coiled in defiance. The other brothers had scattered for the day, Ryder to his garage shift, Finn to the clinic where he mended the overlooked wounds of the community, Blaze tinkering with engines that roared louder than his regrets. But Jax lingered, his instincts honed from years of watching backs on endless highways. When Lily emerged, her steps hesitant, he straightened, reading the storm in her downcast eyes. "Everything all right, Squirt?" His voice was low, gravel wrapped in concern, the kind that had pulled confessions from tighter lips. She hesitated, then pulled out the note, her small hand unfolding it like a reluctant flag of surrender. Jax's jaw tightened as he read, the paper crinkling under his scarred fingers. No outburst, no curse, just a deepening of the lines around his eyes, memories flickering like old film reels. He thought of their father, gunned down in a dusty alley by a badge that bent for the wrong bidder, a betrayal that splintered the family and forged the oath from the shards. "This ain't kid stuff," he murmured, folding the note away. "We ride careful from here." Lily nodded, climbing onto the back of his bike, her arms wrapping around his waist, the familiar rumble vibrating through her as they pulled away. The wind whipped her curls, carrying the scent of sun-warmed leather and freedom, but the threat lingered, a shadow pacing their tires. Back at the clubhouse that evening, the air thickened with the tang of coffee brewing on a hot plate and the sharp bite of soldering irons. The brothers reconvened under the garage's vaulted ceiling, fluorescent bulbs casting harsh pools of light on the concrete floor. Thorne leaned against a workbench, his massive arms folded, the quiet enforcer whose presence alone quelled storms. Cole paced slowly, his strategist's mind already dissecting the note's implications, anonymous but deliberate, the handwriting too steady for a child's rage. "Could be the kids, folks," Cole said, voice measured, like plotting a route through fog-shrouded canyons. "Town like this, grudges run deep, or worse, someone higher up, pulling strings to keep the peace on their terms." Blaze slammed a wrench down, the clang echoing like a gunshot, his flame tattoo seeming to flicker with restrained fire. "We go back, shake some trees, see what falls out." But Jax shook his head, the eldest's wisdom a steady anchor. "Not yet. We promised Lily a family that stands, not one that swings first. This is about truth, not teeth." He glanced at her, curled up on the worn couch with a sketchpad, drawing the convoy's silhouette against a stormy sky, her way of mapping the chaos. Finn knelt beside her, checking a faint scrape on her knee from earlier, his medic's hands gentle. "World's full of hidden hurts," he said softly, "but we uncover 'em together." Lily looked up, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and fire. "What if they hurt you? Because of me?" The question hung heavy, stirring the ghosts of old losses, the brother they'd buried after a ride turned ambush, the wars that left scars deeper than skin. Ryder, wiping grease from his brow, crouched to her level. "Nah, Lil, you're the reason we ride straight. Remember that night by the campfire?" Jack's telling stories of Dad's last promise, to protect the road ahead, no matter the potholes. She nodded, the memory warming her like embers. Their father's vow, whispered around flickering flames under star-pricked skies, had bound them, loyalty over law when justice faltered. It was the oath's core, a promise that outlasted rust and rain. As night deepened, the brothers mapped their next move under the garage's dim glow. Cole pulled strings from his network, old contacts in town hall, whispers of budget cuts that let bullies slip through cracks, and rumors of a local figurehead shielding petty empires. The note pointed to escalation, perhaps a parent with ties to the undercurrent, where schoolyard taunts masked deeper corruptions. Jax watched the group, the chosen family knit tighter by necessity, their faces illuminated by the blue light of a laptop screen. Redemption wasn't a single ride. It was these moments, honoring the word given when the world turned cynical. Lily drifted to sleep, to the soft hum of engines idling outside, dreams weaving motorcycles through misty threats. But Jax stayed awake, polishing his bike's chrome until it gleamed like resolve. Dawn would bring questions to the school, subtle inquiries, not invasions. They'd talk to teachers, trace the note's shadow without shattering the fragile peace. Yet doubt gnawed. What if the corruption ran to Harlan himself, a man pressured by powers that viewed the oath as a threat? The ride ahead twisted, testing not just their loyalty, but the moral steel that defined them. By midnight, the clubhouse fell quiet, save for the distant howl of wind through the pines. Jack stepped outside, lighting a cigarette, its ember glowing like a beacon in the dark. Lily's rebirth had reignited their purpose, but this threat tested it, pulling them toward ethical precipices where one wrong turn could unravel the oath. Still, they would ride, fulfilling the promise that had saved her, and in turn salvaged their own fractured souls. The engines waited, silent sentinels, ready for the moral dawn. The first rays of dawn sliced through the pines like hesitant blades, gilding the clubhouse's weathered siding and stirring the dew from the lineup of motorcycles. Jax killed the cigarette's ember under his boot, the acrid smoke curling away into the crisp air as the brothers stirred inside. Coffee percolated with a gurgle that mimicked the low thrum of engines warming up, its bitter aroma cutting through the night's lingering chill. Lily emerged from the back room, rubbing sleep from her eyes, her sketchpad tucked under one arm like a shield. The note's shadow clung to her, but Jax's steady nod pulled a small smile from her lips. "We got this, Squirt. Ride with me today." The convoy formed a tighter phalanx this morning, 6 bikes rolling out in formation, their exhaust a muffled roar that parted the early traffic like a vow made manifest. The town unfolded around them, sleepy diners flickering to life, fields misted in silver, but Jax's mind mapped the school's perimeter, eyes scanning for unseen eyes. Thorn rode point, his bulk a silent deterrent. Cole flanked Lily's position on Jax's bike, his gaze dissecting every passing shadow. They'd decided on subtlety, no storming gates, just presence laced with questions. The oath's strength lay in persistence, not spectacle, honoring the promise their father had etched into their souls during those long-ago rides, when he'd grip the handlebars and say, "Truth rides slower, but it outlasts the flash." At the school, the parking lot still hummed with arriving families, but the brothers' arrival sent ripples, tires crunching gravel, engines idling like watchful hearts. Principal Harlan waited at the entrance, his suit crisp, but his posture rigid, as if the building's walls pressed in on him. Lily dismounted, her sneakers scuffing the pavement, and Jax placed a hand on her shoulder, the warmth seeping through her jacket. "We'll be right here if you need us." Harlan cleared his throat, glancing at the group. "Gentlemen, about yesterday. We've started counseling sessions. But this note, it's troubling." He handed Jax a photocopy, the block letters stark on the page, but his eyes darted away, betraying the cracks in his authority. Inside Harlan's office once more, the air felt thicker, laced with the faint must of old files and unspoken burdens. The principal sank into his chair, fingers drumming the desk like a Morse code of unease. "I've questioned the students. Tyler's involved, but he swears it's just talk. His father's influential in town, runs a garage on the east side, close to some rough crowds." Jax leaned forward, the leather of his vest creaking softly, his voice a measured rumble. "Influence don't excuse threats. Lily's under our watch. If this ties to something bigger, we need to know." Harlan hesitated, the clock's tick amplifying the pause, before admitting, "Budget cuts mean we overlook things. Parents complain, but some. They have pull. A council member, maybe, shielding favors." Outside, Lily navigated the halls with Finn at her side, the medic's calm a balm against the stairs. Whispers trailed them like exhaust fumes. "Those bikers again?" But her chin lifted, drawing strength from the emblem on his vest. In class, she sat straighter, her notebook open to a fresh page, sketching the serpent chain that bound her family. Tyler slouched 2 rows back, his scowl deeper. But when recess called, he approached under the guise of apology, his voice low. "Look, the note wasn't me, but my dad said your brothers are trouble, stirring up old stuff." Lily's eyes narrowed, the words landing like gravel under tires. Old stuff. The underbelly Harlan hinted at, rumors of rigged deals, cops turning blind to small-time empires that preyed on the vulnerable. Finn caught the exchange from the doorway, his healer's instincts flaring. He pulled Lily aside in the shaded courtyard, where the scent of chalk dust mingled with blooming jasmine. "What did he say?" She relayed it haltingly, the fear twisting her gut, but Finn's nod was steady. "We've faced worse shadows. Remember that storm last fall? We rode through it. Thunder be damned." His words evoked the memory, huddled in a roadside motel, rain lashing the windows, as Finn shared stories of stitching wounds under fire, turning pain into purpose. It was the oath's quiet magic, transforming scars into stories, neglect into belonging. Lily's rebirth wasn't just survival, it was this, the chosen threads weaving her into their tapestry. By lunch, the brothers reconvened in the lot, sharing intel over sandwiches from a nearby truck, the bread's yeasty warmth a small comfort. Blaze chewed thoughtfully, his temper banked but eyes smouldering. "Tyler's dad, I've heard the name. Harlan's garage, cuts corners on inspections. Could be he's got ties to the council, burying complaints to keep his hands clean." Cole nodded, sketching a rough web on a napkin. School at the centre, lines radiating to town hall, garages, shadowed alleys. "This note's a warning shot. Someone sees us as a threat to their order." Ryder, fiddling with a loose chain on his bike, added, "We talked to the dad, quiet-like. Show him family's not a word to toss around." Jax watched Lily through the chain-link fence, laughing with a tentative new friend, her curls catching the sunlight. Pride swelled in his chest, mingled with the ache of old failures the night their father fell, promises shattered by corruption's bullet. "We don't swing," he reminded them, voice firm as forged steel. "We stand. Uncover the truth, protect her light." The group murmured agreement, the bond tightening like a well-oiled chain. Thorne clapped Jax's shoulder, his rare words gravelly, "Oath holds." It was redemption in motion, not vengeance. A moral ride through ethical fog, where loyalty outshone the grime. As the final bell rang, releasing a tide of students, Lily ran to them, her face alight despite the day's undercurrents. But as they mounted up, a black sedan idled at the lot's edge, its tinted windows unreadable. No move, just observation, vanishing into traffic like a ghost. Jax's grip tightened on the handlebars, the engine's growl rising as they pulled away. The threat deepened, pulling at the family's seams, but the road ahead called, twisting toward confrontations that would test their honor, revealing if the oath could pierce the town's veiled corruptions without losing its soul. The convoy faded into the horizon, dust settling like unanswered questions, Lily's small form a beacon of the promise they all chased. If this chapter stirred something in you, the quiet fire of standing for what's right, hit that like button below. Your support fuels these tales of unbreakable bonds, helping them reach more roads less traveled. The evening shadows stretched long across the clubhouse's gravel lot, the sun dipping behind the jagged pines like a weary rider calling it quits. Jax eased his bike to a stop, the engine's final rumble fading into the chorus of crickets awakening in the underbrush. Lily slid off the back, her sneakers kicking up small puffs of dust, but her usual spark dimmed by the day's lingering unease. The black sedan's ghost haunted the rearview in Jax's mind, a sleek predator lurking at the school's edge, vanishing before they could tail it. He dismounted, slinging an arm around her shoulders, the leather of his vest warm from the ride. Home turf now squirt, no shadows here but ours. Inside, the garage hummed with purpose, tools laid out like battle plans on the scarred workbench. The brothers had beaten them back, the air thick with the metallic tang of fresh welds and the earthy bite of turned soil from a nearby fire pit. Cole hunched over his laptop, the screen's glow etching sharp lines on his face, fingers flying across keys as he traced license plates from blurry security feeds. Sedans registered to a shell company. Town hall adjacent. Smells like cover. Thorne nodded from his perch on a stool, polishing a chain link with methodical strokes, his silence a vault of contained force. Blaze paced near the coffee pot, steam rising like unspoken fury, while Ryder tinkered with Lily's bike, a pint-sized custom they'd built together, its chrome accents catching the hanging bulb's light. Finn spotted Lily first, waving her over to the couch where a stack of medical journals lay forgotten. Rough roads today. he asked, his voice soft as a compress on a bruise. She sank down, pulling her knees up, the crumpled note from her pocket spilling out like a confession. Tyler's dad. He looked scared when Tyler talked about him, like secrets bigger than school. Finn listened, his healer's eyes noting the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers twisted the paper's edge. He'd seen this before, in soldiers fresh from the sands, carrying invisible weights that festered if ignored. Secrets rot if left buried, but we dig smart, not reckless. That's the oath. Jax joined them, the floorboards creaking under his boots, and gathered the group around the central table, a battered oak scarred from countless strategy sessions. Maps of the town sprawled out, marked with pins, the school, Harlan's garage, City Hall's looming facade. Tyler's old man, Mark Harlan, no relation to the principal, runs a chop shop disguised as legit repairs. Word is, he's in bed with the council, greasing palms to overlook inventory that ain't always clean. Cole slid over a printout, grainy photos of the garage's backlot, shadows of crates that hinted at more than engine parts. The note could be his way of warning off interference, sees us as outsiders rattling his cage. Blaze's fist clenched, knuckles whitening, but Jax's raised hand quelled the spark. We ride to his place at first light, not to brawl, to talk, show him the face of family he can't bully. Lily looked up, her eyes wide in the lamplight, fear mingling with a budding resolve. What if he won't listen? Like the teachers who pretend not to see? The question pierced the room, echoing the ghosts of their father's fall, a man who'd stood against similar shadows, only to pay with his life in a rain-slicked alley where justice wore a crooked badge. Ryder knelt beside her, his grin a defiant flash. Then we make him. Remember the promise, Lil. Dad's words by the fire. Loyalty's the chain that holds when everything else snaps. We're that chain for you. As night deepened, the clubhouse transformed into a sanctuary of quiet rituals. Finn brewed chamomile tea, its herbal steam curling like tendrils of calm, while Thorn strung lights around the perimeter, their soft glow warding off the encroaching dark. Lily sketched by the fire pit outside, charcoal strokes capturing the brothers' silhouettes against flickering flames, Jax's steady gaze, Cole's thoughtful tilt, the collective strength that had reborn her from neglect's hollow echo. 2 years ago, she'd been a shadow in a foster system's cracks, invisible until Jax's convoy pulled into that diner lot, engines thundering like a lifeline. Now, this threat tested the weave, pulling at threads of corruption that snaked through the town's veins. Sleep came fitfully for Jax, dreams replaying the sedan's tinted glare, morphing into memories of desert patrols where trust fractured under fire. He rose before dawn, the sky a bruised purple, and roused the others with the clink of keys. Coffee cups steamed in calloused hands as they mounted up, Lily riding with Finn this time, her small frame tucked against his back, the wind's promise whispering through her hair. The convoy sliced through pre-dawn quiet, headlights carving paths along empty roads lined with whispering cornfields, the scent of damp earth rising like an omen. Harlan's garage squatted on the town's east edge, a squat building with peeling paint and bays chained shut against the chill. Floodlights buzzed to life as they approached, tires crunching over oil-stained gravel. Mark Harlan emerged from a side door, wiping hands on a rag, his face a map of suspicion. Mid-40s, stocky build, eyes narrowed under a grease-smeared cap. Tyler hovered behind him, peeking from the shadows. His earlier bravado evaporated. "What do you want?" Mark growled, arms crossing like a barrier. Jax dismounted first, the others fanning out in a loose arc, engines ticking cool behind them. No aggression, just presence, the weight of 6 lives bound by vow. Talk about your boy and my sister, notes in lockers, threats that cross lines, Lily's family, ours. Mark's gaze flicked to Lily, then hardened. Kids stuff. Tyler's sorry, but you bikers stirring mud, school's complaining. Stay out, or it gets messy. The words hung, laced with the undercurrent Cole had mapped. Favors to councilmen, dodged inspections, a web where schoolyard bullies learned from fathers who ruled by fear. Finn stepped forward, his medic's calm a bridge. Messy like overlooking hurts. We've seen enough to know silence costs more. Lily met Tyler's eyes across the lot, not with hate, but a quiet challenge, the reborn girl who'd found honor in chrome and loyalty. Tyler shifted, mumbling, "It wasn't supposed to go that far, Dad." Mark's facade cracked, the rag twisting in his grip, revealing the man caught in his own chains of compromise. Jax pressed gently, voice steady as a heartbeat. "End it! Pull the strings you hold, or we uncover more, truth that don't bend." The dawn light broke fully now, bathing the scene in gold, highlighting the serpent patch on their vests. Mark exhaled, shoulders slumping, the fight leaching out like deflating tires. "Fine, I'll talk to Harlan. No more notes." But as they turned to leave, an engine's distant purr caught Jax's ear. The black sedan, circling the block like a vulture, denied its meal. The ride back thrummed with cautious victory, wind carrying the pine-scented air, but the web tightened. Cole's phone buzzed mid-route. A tip from an old contact, linking Mark's dealings to the principal's strained budget. Kickbacks funneled through school contracts, corruption's quiet rot. Lily clung tighter to Finn, her whisper lost in the roar. "We're winning, right?" He nodded, the oaths promise a shield against the gathering storm. Back at the clubhouse, the morning unfolded in debriefs and plans, the air alive with the spark of resolve. Redemption rode on their shoulders, not in conquest, but in the moral stand that exposed shadows, forging Lily's place deeper into their unbreakable circle. Yet the sedan's shadow loomed, hinting at higher stakes, where loyalty would face its fiercest test, pulling the family toward a reckoning that could redeem or unravel them all. The engines idled once more, ready for the next twist in the road, dust motes dancing in the sunlight like unspoken oaths. The midday sun beat down on the clubhouse like a relentless forge, turning the gravel lot into a shimmering haze where heat waves danced off the lined-up motorcycles. Jax wiped sweat from his brow with the back of his hand, the salt stinging a faint scar above his eye, a remnant from a long-ago skirmish that taught him the cost of blind trust. The tip from Cole's contact still echoed in his mind. Kickbacks threading through the school's veins, Mark Harlan's garage as a funnel for dirty money that propped up the principal's crumbling facade. It wasn't just a father's grudge. It was a town's quiet rot, where authority bent to keep the vulnerable silenced. Lily sat on the porch steps, her sketchpad open but untouched, the pencil hovering as if the page held too many shadows to capture. Inside, the brothers clustered around the oak table, the air heavy with the aroma of reheated stew from a dented pot, simple fare that grounded them amid the storm. Cole spread out fresh notes, his fingers tracing connections on a hand-drawn diagram. Arrows from the garage to City Hall, looping back to the school through phantom contracts for supplies that never arrived. "Mark's the small fish," Cole said, his voice a low cadence like gravel under tires. "But he's bait. Principal Harlan's the one squeezing the line, using budget woes as cover to skim, letting bullies like Tyler slide to keep parents quiet." Blaze leaned in, his flame tattoo flexing with restrained tension, the scent of his earlier welds clinging to his shirt like a warning. "We hit the principal direct. Lay it out. Make him fold." Jack shook his head slowly, the eldest's gaze steady as a horizon line. "No hits. We expose, not explode." Dad's promise was truth over thunder. Ride clean even when the road's muddied. He glanced at Lily through the open door, her small form silhouetted against the pines, and felt the pull of redemption sharper than ever. She'd been the spark, pulling them from scattered lives into this chosen circle, mending the fractures left by their father's fall. 2 years ago, finding her in that diner, huddled over cold coffee, eyes hollow from a world that had forgotten her, had reignited the oath. Now, this web threatened to ensnare her light, testing if their loyalty could cut through corruption without drawing blood. Finn nodded from his spot by the first aid kit, always the healer in body and spirit. I'll go with Lily tomorrow, talk to her teacher, get eyes on the ground. Subtle probes, ask about the counseling, see what slips. Thorne grunted approval, his massive hands folding a rag with deliberate care. The enforcer's silence, a pillar that needed no words. Ryder, ever the spark, cracked a half-smile. And I'll shadow the lot after school. Spot that sedan if it circles back. We document, build the case, make 'em own their mess. The plan wove together like a well-tuned chain, each link forged in the fires of past losses. The brother lost to a rigged fight, the wars that scarred more than skin, the vow by campfire light that bound them beyond blood. As afternoon bled into evening, the clubhouse pulsed with quiet preparation. Lily joined them at the table, her presence a gentle anchor, and shared a drawing, the serpent emblem encircling a schoolhouse, chains linking tiny figures hand in hand. "For us," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of her rebirth, from neglect's fog to this family's unyielding warmth. Jax ruffled her hair, the gesture evoking memories of their father doing the same under starlit skies, his gravelly laugh promising safety in a chaotic world. "That's the road we ride, kid. Promises that hold." Night fell like a curtain, stars pricking the velvet sky as the brothers took shifts watching the perimeter, the crunch of boots on gravel, a rhythmic patrol. Jax couldn't sleep. The cot springs creaking under him as dreams replayed the sedan's approach, tinted windows hiding faces that mirrored the cop who'd ended their father's ride. He rose, stepping into the cool air scented with pine and distant rain, and found Lily awake by the fire pit, flames licking logs with soft pops. "Can't turn off the engine in your head?" he asked, settling beside her. She shook her head, poking at the embers with a stick. "What if the bad stuff's bigger than us? Like, what took Dad?" The question hung, raw and honest, stirring the ghosts they'd all buried under miles of highway. Jax wrapped an arm around her, the leather of his jacket creaking. "It is bigger, but we don't fight size with size. We fight with what's right, the stand that outlasts the storm. You reborn us, Lil, gave us purpose again." Her nod was small, but the firelight caught the resolve in her eyes, a quiet fire kindled by loyalty's steady burn. Dawn broke with a misty veil, the convoy assembling under the clubhouse's eaves, engines purring to life like awakened guardians. Lily rode with Jax again, her arms secure around his waist, the wind whispering through the pines as they cut toward town. The school loomed ahead, its brick facade less imposing in the soft light, but the undercurrent thrummed, teachers arriving with hurried steps, parents exchanging glances. Finn and Lily headed inside first, the medic's calm presence parting the hallway crowd like a gentle wake. In the counselor's office, a small room cluttered with posters of smiling faces and potted plants wilting from neglect. Finn sat with Lily, his questions veiled as concern. "How's the support feeling? Any changes since the assembly?" The counselor, a harried woman with glasses perched on her nose, fidgeted with a file. "We're trying, but resources. Principal Harlan says it's under control." Her eyes flicked away, the pause heavy with the unsaid. Cuts that forced blind eyes, favors that silenced reports. Lily spoke up then, her voice steady despite the knot in her throat. "The note scared me. Tyler said his dad knows things." The words landed like pebbles in still water, ripples spreading. The councillor's face paled, confirming the threads. Whispers of Harlan's deals. School funds siphoned to line pockets, bullies protected as pawns in a larger game. Outside, Jackson Cole waited in the lot, blending into the morning rush with casual leans against a fence, but their eyes scanned every arrival. The black sedan appeared at the far curb, idling briefly before peeling away, enough for Cole to snap a clearer plate shot. "Got it," he murmured, pocketing his phone. Thorne and Blaze circled the block on foot, their presence subtle but unmistakable, drawing stares from lingering parents. By recess, word filtered back. Tyler isolated in the yard, his father's influence cracking under the growing scrutiny. The brothers reconvened at lunch under a sprawling oak near the field, sandwiches shared in the dappled shade, the air alive with the distant laughter of children unburdened. Ryder reported from his shadow watch, no overt moves, but a council van had parked oddly close to Harlan's office earlier. "They're spooked. Mark must have talked, or someone hire's sweating." Jax nodded, the plan evolving. Confront the principal that afternoon, armed with the councillor's slip and Cole's traces. Not accusations, but irrefutable light on the shadows. As the bell rang, Lily emerged with Finn, her step-lighter. A tentative friendship blooming with a classmate who'd approached during art class, inspired by her drawing. The rebirth extended, ripples of their stand touching others. But as the convoy formed to leave, Principal Harlan approached, his suit rumpled, eyes hollowed by the weight of exposure. "We need to talk. Privately." Jax met his gaze, the serpent patch gleaming in the sun. "Lead the way. Truth's overdue." The office door clicked shut behind them, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and impending fracture. Harlan sank into his chair, hands trembling slightly. "It's deeper than you know. The council. They lean on us. Funds for silence." The confession spilled haltingly. Kickbacks from Mark's garage funneled through fake vendors, protecting a network that preyed on the town's edges. Lily's bullying, a symptom overlooked to keep the peace. Jax's voice remained even, a moral anchor. "End it. Report it, or we do. For her, for all the kids caught in the cracks." Harlan nodded, broken but resolute, the first crack in the corruption's armor. As they stepped out, the brothers flanked Lily, their presence a living vow. The sedan watched from afar, but today it retreated without challenge. The ride home thrummed with fragile triumph, wind carrying the promise of justice's slow dawn. Yet the Webb's heart still beat, higher powers alerted, testing the oath's steel. Redemption hung in the balance, their chosen family the blade that would sever the ties, forging Lily's future in unbreakable light. The pines whispered approval as the engines faded into the horizon, the road twisting toward the final stand where loyalty would claim its due. The twilight draped the clubhouse in a velvet hush, the pines standing sentinel as the last embers of the fire pit glowed like fading resolve. Jax paced the gravel lot, the crunch of his boots a steady rhythm against the encroaching night, his mind tracing the web's final threads. Harlan's confession had cracked the facade, kickbacks exposed, Mark Harlan's garage implicated in the siphon of school funds that let cruelty fester unchecked. But the black sedan's retreat felt too clean, too calculated. Cole's latest trace pointed higher, a councilman named Elias Crow, the town's silver-tongued puppeteer, whose community initiatives masked a grip on every shadowed deal from rigged bids to silenced complaints. The oath stand had drawn his eye, and now the family rode the edge of a precipice where loyalty would either forge them unbreakable or shatter the promise they'd all sworn. Lily sat on the porch steps, her sketchpad closed for once, fingers tracing the serpent patch on Jax's discarded vest. The day's fragile triumph, the principal's nod toward reporting the corruption, Tyler's mumbled apology in the hall had lifted her, but doubt lingered like exhaust in still air. "Will it stop now?" she asked, her voice small against the chorus of crickets. Jax knelt before her, the scent of pine and leather mingling in the cooling breeze. "It will when we make it. Dad taught us promises ain't kept in whispers. We ride to the end." His eyes, weathered by miles and memories, held hers, evoking the campfire nights where their father's stories wove loss into legacy. A bullet in the dark, a crooked system that devoured the just, and the vow to stand where others fell. Inside, the brothers gathered under the garage's harsh lights, the air thick with the tang of oil and brewing resolve. Maps and printouts sprawled across the oak table, Crow's face staring from a grainy photo, sharp suit, sharper smile, the kind that hid fangs. Ryder leaned against a workbench, wiping grease from his hands, his youthful fire banked into focus. "We go to City Hall tomorrow, not storming, presenting. Harlan's report as leverage, Cole's traces as proof." Finn nodded, packing a small kit of documents and a recorder, his medic's precision turning evidence into armor. Quiet confrontation. Expose the rot without feeding it. Blaze's jaw tightened, the flame on his chest seeming to smolder, but he grunted agreement, the hot head tempered by the oath's moral compass. Thorne loomed in the corner, his silence a thunderhead held in check, while Cole outlined the route. Dawn ride, straight to the council offices. No detours. Sleep evaded them all, the night alive with the soft hum of idling thoughts. Lily dreamed fitfully on her cot, visions of chains breaking free under starlit skies, her rebirth a light piercing the fog of neglect. Jax watched over her from the doorway, the weight of their father's ghost pressing close, the man who'd ridden into that fatal alley for one last stand against corruption, leaving scars that bound the brothers in chrome and creed. This was their redemption, not avenging the past, but honoring it by shielding the innocent, turning personal fractures into a family's unyielding strength. Dawn broke with a golden ferocity, mist curling from the dew-kissed bikes as the convoy assembled. Lily rode with Jax, her arms wrapped tight, the engine's vibration a heartbeat syncing with her own. The road unfurled through sleepy fields, the scent of damp earth and wildflowers rising like hope's first breath. City Hall rose ahead, a squat monolith of glass and stone on the town's edge, its flag limp in the still air. They parked in formation, engines cutting to a unified hush that turned heads, clerks pausing mid-stride, the parking lot's bustle faltering. No leather-clad charge, just 6 figures dismounting with purpose, Lily at their center like a flame guarded by steel. Crow's office perched on the 2nd floor, walls lined with plaques and photos of handshakes that reeked of backroom deals. He looked up from his desk as they entered unannounced, his polished demeanor cracking at the edges, eyes flicking to the iron oath patches, then to Lily's determined gaze. "Gentlemen and young lady, to what do I owe this visit?" His voice dripped false warmth, but Jax stepped forward, placing Harlan's report and Cole's dossier on the desk with deliberate calm. The papers whispered against the wood, heavy with photocopies of ledgers, witness slips, the sedan's plates linking back to his shell accounts. "We know the game, Crow. School funds drained, bullies shielded to keep the quiet. Lily's just the start. How many more caught in your web?" The room thickened, the clock's tick amplifying the tension like a countdown. Crow leaned back, fingers steepled, but sweat beaded on his brow, the facade slipping. Allegations without proof. This town's built on progress, not biker fairy tales. Finn spoke then, his tone even as a surgeon's incision. "Proof's right here. Harlan's coming clean. Mark Harlan's folding. Your sedan's been tailing us, enough to bury you if we push." Lily stepped up, her voice steady, reborn from shadows into light. "You let them hurt me. For money. But family's stronger." The words landed like truth's quiet thunder, stirring something in Crow's eyes, perhaps a flicker of his own buried conscience, eroded by years of compromise. Thorne's presence filled the doorway, a silent wall, while Blaze and Ryder flanked the windows, their restraint a testament to the oath's core. Cole added the final link. Resign. Report it all. Or we take this public, every mile we've ridden, every promise kept, broadcast till the light hits every crack. Crow sagged, the air escaping him like deflating tires, his empire crumbling under the weight of exposed honor. Fine. I'll step down. Funds restored, investigations called, but leave it there. No more stirring. Jax's nod was firm, no triumph in his eyes, only the satisfaction of a vow fulfilled. For the kids, for the road ahead. They emerged into the sunlight, the convoy's rumble echoing as they pulled away, City Hall shrinking in the mirrors. Lily's laughter rang out on the wind, free and unshadowed. Her sketches waiting to capture this victory, a serpent unchained, family woven eternal. The corruption's heart had stilled, justice blooming from loyalty's soil, redeeming the brothers' scars and sealing Lily's place in their unbreakable circle. The road stretched open, promises honored, horizons calling with the whisper of new dawns. Back at the clubhouse that evening, the fire pit crackled under a star-pricked sky, stew simmering and stories flowing like the miles behind them. Jax raised a tin mug. The group gathered close, to the oath, to family-chosen promises kept. Laughter mingled with the pine-scented breeze, Lily's drawing passed hand to hand, a testament to rebirth from muddied yards to moral triumphs. The ghosts of their father smiled in the flames, the legacy alive in every quiet stand. And as the night deepened, the engines rested, their roar saved for roads yet untraveled, where honor rode eternal. Thank you for riding this journey with us. These tales of unbreakable bonds and quiet courage are fueled by hearts like yours. If Lily's story touched you, hit that subscribe button and join the convoy. Let's keep the promises alive, one chapter at a time.